Joining us now, Matt Schlapp, chairman of the American Conservative Union, and Ty Matsdorf, who was deputy executive director for the 2016 Congressional Campaign Committee. Ty, let me start with you. You heard what Steve Stivers had to say, that partly that we're in this situation for, well, it looks to be, I guess the Republicans are going to challenge it, but Lamb has already said that he's won. Either way, it was very close, but it was a district that President Trump won by 20 points. And the Republicans are saying, well, Conor Lamb ran basically as a Republican in a Democrat's clothing. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that they are just looking for any excuse to explain why this district was competitive to begin with. It absolutely should not have been. And I think that what it shows is, you know, candidates matter. Conor Lamb fit the district very well. And that's why you saw him pulling out a victory in a place that Democrats have no earthly business even competing.
And Matt, I know that you and I have remembered 2006 very well. I was curious when you realized during that year that the Republicans had their work cut out for them if they were going to try to keep the House.
Well, we had a couple of issues that were problems. We had a president that was who we respected and loved, but he was tanking in the polls, let's be honest. And we had an economy that was in an incredibly shaky position, and the country was very war-weary. The difference between 2006 and today is Donald Trump's policies are very popular. The economy is chugging along, and in a lot of these districts that we're talking about, Trump's numbers, especially on the issues he's pushing, and in this district, tariffs was very popular, are more popular than people think. I think that what's unique about this particular race, Dana, is that the Republican incumbent who had to resign in disgrace, it was one of the most disgusting examples of congressional arrogance I've ever seen. And the voters were mad at the Republican Party, and they had to bear under that situation. So that's unique in this case. And I do think with Conor Lamb, let's all be honest, he ran away from Nancy Pelosi. And if that is what allows Democrats more successful at the polls, I'm kind of half okay with that, because I'd actually like to see a Democratic Party that was a lot more moderate than the Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders wing.
Dave Wasserman of the Cook Political Report tweeted this. Ty, I want this to go to you. Democrats don't have a clear leader. That's also one of the best things going for them in 2018. The face of the party becomes whoever's running in each state and district, while GOP candidates are tied to Trump. Is Nancy Pelosi still the boogeyman that the Republicans have tried to use in the past?
I don't think that it's working. I think that the Republicans were kind of trying to hang their hat on that. And remember, Dana, they started advertising in this district 10 weeks out from the election, had a huge financial advantage. The bulk of their ads for the first 7 weeks were all about Nancy Pelosi, and they saw that it wasn't working and moving the needle, so they quickly then pivoted. So I don't think that it's going to have the juice that they think that it's going to have. And
then what happens, I guess, Matt, to other Republicans who perhaps have never had a tough race? In this district that we're talking about, the Democrats didn't even field a candidate in the last election. So the Republican won with 100%, of course, and then, as you said, he resigned in disgrace. But what about Republicans? What would you tell them if they think that they've always had a safe race? Should they be worried right now?
Yeah, so there's a lot of Republicans who are on air, their roosters crowing. They're saying, oh my gosh, this is terrible. This is, wake up. The Republican Party is headed for disaster in November. I don't agree with that, but I do think it's good. And whenever I've had political jobs, I've always been the person who's the most worried in the room. And I am worried as a Republican. Every Republican should be worried, not because the Democrats are right that Donald Trump is going to tank their chances. I don't agree with that. I think there's a lot of political change out there, and I think the American people are ready to try fresh new candidates. And I think if you're a long-term incumbent, I think you ought to be awfully careful. And if you're a Republican, you ought to be careful, because the American people are okay with divided government. So that Democratic's chances. But the Democrats have got to come up with a theme, and they've got to stand for something the American people want to get behind. Conor Lamb did a better job of that than most Democrats do. Let's see if they learn from this experience.
Ty, Josh Kroshar wrote today that there are 47 seats that are really actually competitive. Yesterday there was a report that even in Orange County, which has been really a stalwart Republican support, is a place where Democrats are looking for possible flipping of seats there. Where do you think you have the best possible chances regionally?
Well, if the election in Pennsylvania was indication, I'd say everywhere. But where we really are going to see the gains is some of these suburban seats, places like Minneapolis, places like New York City suburbs, Orange County. And Matt's right. Like, a lot of these Republican incumbents haven't been challenged in a while. And you hear the Republicans saying, oh, Rick Saccone was terrible. Rick Saccone was terrible. Look, he might not be any political Wayne Newton, but neither is half the House Republican caucus. So if they are hanging their hat on sort of having these dynamic candidates, I think that they're in for a rude awakening.
What is a political Wayne Newton? I don't know if that's good or bad, but maybe a fig Newton.
It's better than a fig Newton. I think that's what it is. But if you can make Matt Schlapp laugh on my air, Ty, you're